If you are taken on a private jet and forced to play dangerous truth games that can drive you mentally insane, what would you do? You're stuck 30,000 feet above ground where all of your deepest, darkest secrets are about to be revealed. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the truth game in Panic Button. These young people are about to find out the dangers of social media. Walking through the airport, this mysterious kid, Max, approaches this woman, Jo, and asks if she's a fellow contestant. They introduce themselves, realizing they've both won a free trip to New York, and walk off to meet the other contestants. She meets Dave here, who's a businessman, and this ditzy lady, Gwen, as Max brings out a complimentary bottle of champagne, pouring it for his fellow contestants. That's when Dave comments on Jo's child, telling her that he checked out the girl's profile on altogether.com, the website offering them this chance of a lifetime. It's creepy, but Gwen insists that she shouldn't worry about the man, revealing that he's getting married next month. She then turns to Max and asks the kid why he hasn't put anything on his profile. Max admits that he just keeps to himself, and Dave here decides to pour out another glass of champagne for his fellow contestant. But an announcement interrupts their celebrations, congratulating them for winning an all-expense-paid trip to New York. The announcer continues by explaining that they'll be provided with some unique in-flight entertainment, but they need to keep their mobile phones off throughout the flight, or else face being disqualified from the competition. That's when the voice informs them that their private jet has arrived and it's time for them to go. Arriving on the runway, this worker asks to collect their phones. Jo here explains that she needs to talk with her daughter, but is told that she'll be refused entrance if the girl doesn't hand it over. The worker sympathizes with her and convinces Jo to give her phone up, preparing this young group of people for an experience that's about to turn deadly. The car drives to their private jet, and the group are shocked by what they've gotten themselves into. Checking out the inside, Max watches as the worker puts their luggage into the trunk of their limousine. Dave rushes to the private bar as this lizard on the monitor explains that they've been selected to test their exclusive social networking games, offering even more prizes if they win. Dave flirts with the ditzy lady before she excuses herself to the bathroom. Walking in, she's shocked by the amenities provided. Meanwhile, the others check out this strange red light, wondering what it could be used for. It's the first time that something is wrong, and they're about to find out why. Okay, these people all think they've won the trip of a lifetime, but what they're about to realize is that this is actually the flight from hell. Having said that, this could have been easily avoided if they hadn't been so willing to trade their lives for free champagne and a quick trip to New York. The first warning sign here is that this is a very mysterious contest. Nobody has fully explained any important details such as why we were chosen or what the conditions are for accepting the invitation. They've told us this is a competition, but we don't know what the game is or what we are competing for. This is always a bad sign because it probably means telling us in advance would risk us choosing not to participate. So far, all we know is that it's a free trip to New York, and in this situation, I would definitely want to ask questions before going onto an international flight I haven't booked myself. Now, although the plane is a privately chartered jet, the airport looks like it has enough foot traffic that there would have to be a normal security check-in. Regardless of the size of the airport, those traveling internationally all have to go through some sort of security checkpoint. Another really weird thing about this contest is that these individuals think that they're going to New York for the weekend. Now, it's important to point out that the flight to New York from London takes on average 6 to 8 hours. That means if we subtract the standard 7 to 8 hours of sleep we should be getting each night, these people will only have about 17 hours total to be in New York City, many of which the contestants will be suffering jet lag since London is 5 hours ahead. Whoever has planned this trip doesn't exactly have luxury in mind. That's why if they were me, before going on the flight, I would try to make contact with someone at the airline to confirm that the flight I'm getting on is legitimate. Air travel is a highly monitored activity, especially international air travel, and there would have to be some sort of paper trail to tell me where this flight is going and who is operating it. Regardless of where you are traveling from, when you check into a flight, the airport confirms your identity and flight details. Check-in is usually run by members of the airline, so it's possible those in charge of the trip could lie to us, but before boarding, you also must have your documents confirmed by TSA, which is operated by an independent company outside of the airline. I would ask someone at TSA to look into my flight to make sure nothing fishy is up. I would also ask them to tell me the individuals who own the plane and who is operating it. If for whatever reason this plan isn't working, then the smartest thing to do is to call the company that is hosting the trip directly in order to confirm that these details are in fact true. Doing this might reveal that this trip is not what we all think it is, and that boarding this flight would be one of the worst and last decisions we'd make. Gwen walks out to praise the amazing bathroom while the announcer tells them to get ready for takeoff. The plane flies off, and they're informed that smoking is not allowed anywhere inside the vehicle. Jo questions how long the flight will take, and Max here estimates that it'll be around 6 hours at maximum speed. Dave gets up, pretending to fall over from the turbulence. He laughs at Gwen's worried face and walks over to the private bar, offering the group a glass of champagne. Later, they share drinks, and the announcer reveals that it's time for the first game. Reading the terms and conditions, Dave instantly accepts, encouraging the others to skip ahead to the game. The announcer tells them that the game must be played to the end, and if they disrupt the flow of the game, they'll be punished. Continuing, he explains that each contestant will be asked a question based on their profile, and Dave will be the first to go. The first question asked is how many goals the man has scored this year in his Sunday football league. Dave brags, answering 9, and is then asked if he has any tattoos. Dave admits that he has one on his back that says sitter in Japanese. The last question asked is a picture puzzle. The monitor shows a photo of this blonde girl, and the announcer asks if he can identify who she is. Shocked, the man looks at the monitor, pretending not to know the answer, and asks to skip the question. Suddenly, the announcer tells him that he answered every question wrong, revealing that he assaulted a fellow football player and was banned. Next, he mentioned that Dave had his scrotum pierced 3 years ago, but has no tattoos. Then the announcer tells him that this picture is of a student that Dave slept with recently. Surprised, Max reminds the man that he's about to get married. The group celebrates his terrible secrets being uncovered, and Jo is picked as the next target. Her first question asks how many units of alcohol she drinks per week. Confused, she replies with 20 units. The next question asks her to identify her own profile on a dating website. The last question is given, asking why she deactivated her social media profile for a 3-month period. She takes a look around the room, confessing that she was in rehab for a drinking problem. That's when the announcer tells her that question 2 and 3 were correct, but the real answer to question 1 was 30 units of alcohol per week. Max is the next to be picked. He's asked what level of classical violin he's reached, and quickly answers. The next question tells him to confess which social media profile he visits the most, but he pretends not to know the answer. The final question asks him to reveal the first item he bought from playtogether.com. The man has no idea what to say, but the monitor shows a bottle of genital wart solution, and Max insists he never bought it. The announcer reveals that every answer was a lie, and the contestant goes quiet, angry that he's been exposed. Gwen is up next, and she comments that these questions are too personal, but the announcer reminds them the game must be completed to win prizes. She decides to continue, and her first question is what famous character she's most often compared to. Confused, she doesn't give an answer, and the next question asks who this is a picture of. Gwen pretends not to know, and the announcer moves on, asking what her username Guardian Angel means. She tells him that it's random, but the voice calls her out, revealing that she lied on 2 of the questions. The school kid was a student that she used to bully on an All Together page, and that her username is from a professional counseling forum. The announcer has just revealed the woman's hypocrisy, but soon things are going to escalate to violence. Okay, this game is really twisted. The contestants here are having their dirty laundry revealed to complete strangers without any explanation why, and have no idea how the point system works or how they will win or lose the game. To make matters worse, they've given up their cell phones and have no way of contacting anyone down on the ground. They've made a horrifying mistake by not reading the terms and conditions, and if it were me, I would definitely have asked more questions by now. At this point, we know that all the contestants have things about them they'd rather not have revealed. Whoever is doing this has to have some sort of ulterior motive behind torturing us each individually with their own internet history. To try to figure out the host's motivation, I would start corroborating with my fellow passengers about what we all have in common to narrow down why we've been specifically chosen. The person in charge of the contest is acting like they are operating on behalf of the website alltogether.com, and is using our internet behavior against us. For this reason, I would start to see where our social circles and lives overlap online. The information that they have on me is from the internet and is also linked to alltogether.com. So trying to figure out why this website is their cover story could be important for learning who the host is as well. I would cross-question everyone on their friends and family, and then check what colleges and universities we've all gone to. It's possible that we could be targeted for some sort of group we are a part of or some test we have taken online. If we have any commonalities, we can then try to draw conclusions about what the host wants from us. So far, the host has made a point to reveal our darkest secrets and try to expose to everyone that we are all bad people one way or another. This would lead me to believe that this is someone that has a vendetta against us and is trying to seek revenge. The only issue is that the host doesn't have anything to gain by revealing these secrets to a group of random individuals, so I would also have to believe that we are all in more immediate danger, or we are on some sort of game show that's recording us and streaming the file elsewhere for others to see. I would first try to appeal to the host, asking them why we are here and if there are any wrongs we could rectify. Then, if the host doesn't give up his ruse and carries on pretending we are a part of a game, I would ask more questions about the specifics of the game to try to catch him in a lie. We can try to get straight to the point of why we are here. Lastly, I would quietly try to start collecting items that I think would help me in case the situation turns violent. I would start by looking in the bar cart to see if there's any silverware or cutlery like forks and knives. Then I would look for an emergency kit to see if there are any heavy objects like a fire extinguisher or an axe. Although my fellow passengers could be allies to me in my fight against the host, they could also be enemies and very dangerous, since I don't know what else is about to be revealed about them. Relieved, the group questions how much these games are going to reveal, while Dave here wonders how they found the picture he was given. Max reminds them that they're here to win and insists they pour another drink. Gwen jokes that Dave should show them his piercing, but he doesn't take it as a joke, telling the woman not to mention it again. Later, Joe here stares out of the plane window, commenting that the weather was predicted to be clearer. The group wonders why it isn't snowing, and they brush it off as a simple mistake. That's when the announcer tells them to get ready for Game 2, Truth or Lie. The group sits down and the monitor shows the millions of users Altogether.com contains, explaining that these are used for both taking shelter and showing off. The group looks around confused, but that's when the announcer shows a horrifying video of someone being killed. Joe is questioned on whether she recognizes it, and the girl pretends not to know. The announcer tells her that she's a liar, showing the exact date and time 2 months ago where she watched it. He continues by saying that she sent the video to 5 of her friends, showing the exact title that shows Joe here is much more disturbed than she seems. The girl storms off, wondering how much this game is going to reveal. Max insists that they won't play, but the announcer reminds them that he won't win any prizes by quitting early. Gwen is the next to be chosen, and is shown a questionnaire asking what kind of lover are you, with multiple choice answers. The announcer tells her that she recently completed this test, forcing her to reveal that she was labeled a kinky lover. That's when he announces that the test was wrong, and she lied in some of her answers. Question 4 of the lover test asked, how many people have you slept with? Gwen insists that it's none of their business, even though it's on the girl's profile. Suddenly, the announcer reveals a forum which she regularly frequents, proving that she's never been with anyone before, and explains that they have records of every single website they visited in the past few months. Dave accuses them of lying, but that's when it's revealed that he's been watching messed up videos only recently. Dave tells the announcer to stop while he continues to uncover more disturbing things about the man. Shocked, he tries to bring Max into the conversation, but the kid refuses to be a part of his game. Dave looks around to see everyone in disgust, and the man gets up to have a word with the pilot. He demands they open up the door, but Dave is warned to sit back down. The announcer explains that he will now be given a punishment for breaking the rules. His Altogether profile is shown on screen, and they visit one of his friends called Rory, showing this creepy video. They all watch as someone walks into his house with a shotgun and shoots his friend dead. The others are shocked, but the man laughs it off, insisting that it's a fake video, and his friend must be in on it. The announcer continues with their game while Max here tries to send an email to someone outside of the plane, but that was his biggest mistake. Okay, things have gone from bad to worse. Not only does the announcer have all my private information, but he knows exactly who my friends and family are and is prepared to kill them at any moment. The announcer's motive makes absolutely no sense yet, because none of the game show contestants are particularly wealthy, nor has the announcer asked for something as a trade-off for their lives. The most likely solution is something that we have said or done that we are being punished for if we do not find anything else in common that could be linking us together somehow. It's not looking good, but there's actually something the contestants can do to help protect themselves. Although the host is threatening to hurt friends and family on the ground, it would benefit all the contestants if we search for all the cameras and destroy them. The announcer has some sort of ulterior motive, even though we don't know what it is yet. And knowing that he must have one gives us more control over the situation. We know this because none of us are dead yet, and he's trying to make an example out of us and is yet to get to his point. We've all been off our guard for the entire game, and it would have been easy for him to have just killed us once we were mid-flight. Making it harder for him to get to his hidden objective gives us more control over the situation and keeps us alive for longer. He also possibly has control over the pilot of the plane, and unless we can find a way to have contact with the pilot without the announcer intervening, he can kill us at any moment. Right now, all the power is in his hands. By disarming all the cameras, he no longer is able to see what we're doing, and we will be able to either reason with the pilot or break into other parts of the plane without the announcer knowing. The main problem with this plan is that the announcer has control over the contestant's friends and family on the ground. But let's be honest, the contestant didn't read the terms and conditions, and the announcer has already killed someone due to one infraction. At this point, there's really just the illusion of control over what's happening on the ground, when in reality, there's no way for the contestants to know exactly how to play based on the rules of the game. If it were me, I'd rather place my bets on trying to save my life than toe the line and watch my family die anyway. The first thing that needs to happen is that everyone on the plane needs to get on the same page. This is going to be difficult because everyone on the plane has an allegiance to someone on the ground, but if I can convince them that they really have no control over the situation and they're going to die anyway, and we have to save ourselves, then taking out the cameras allows us all to quietly divide and conquer. This will force the announcer to either show his hand earlier and attempt to kill us right there, or he will try to coerce us back to the game. This will give us the opportunity to have one person pretend they are on his side and talk to him, trying to strike a deal with the announcer, while the others try to speak to the pilot through the door. Max is punished for breaking the rules laid out in the terms and conditions. Now, the announcer tells Max that he will have to lose a friend. The monitor scrolls through his friends list while the group begins freaking out about the situation. The announcer informs Max that he'll be showing a video of his friend Alan. Suddenly, the monitor shows him getting beaten up before the man is thrown down a fire escape. Furious, Max gets up and accuses them of killing innocent people. The announcer informs the group that this is simply a punishment for breaking the rules, and it will be even worse if they break them again. That's when Joe here spots a landmark, realizing that they're flying over Ireland and going in the wrong direction. They're not headed for New York at all, and have been lied to every step of the way. Max begins looking around the room, finding this TV, and ripping it from the wall. He explains that this must be the information screen, and it gives him a clever idea. The man looks around for the power cable, finding and attaching it to the information monitor. That's when they're shocked to discover that their suspicions were correct, and are clearly headed to Oslo. Confused, Max suggests the company who paid for their trip isn't altogether.com. Dave doesn't understand what he's saying, but the kid is sure they need to find the pilot and stop this now. Gwen gets up and insists they continue playing so no one else gets hurt. This is a terrifying situation, and there's no way out of this private jet. The announcer tells them that Game 3 is about to begin, while they wonder what the hell is going on. Joe insists that they've quit the game, and she's given a punishment of her own. The group is ordered to sit down while another round of dark secrets are about to be uncovered. Game 3 is named Do or Die, and the contestants will have to follow every command, or else they'll be responsible for the deaths of their friends and family. Okay, the contestants have finally caught on that this is not a game show that only reveals their darkest secrets to three strangers on a private jet. People's lives are actually on the line here, and to make things worse, they've also found out that they are not heading to America, but are instead on their way to Norway. Although it was risky going against the announcer's wishes, it paid off because now they know that the direction of their plane is at least recorded somewhere. This is important because in order for their flight path to show up on the screen, it has to have been entered into the pilot's flight management system, which means that it's possible to communicate with the outside world, and the plane itself is not operating completely independently. In order for us to be flying to Norway instead of America, the path would either have to be predetermined, or else someone would know that we are flying way off course. If we are flying way off course, then air traffic control would have to get involved at some point. But if this was predetermined, and we just had the wool pulled over our eyes, I would need to try to communicate with the pilot. This would allow us to let air traffic control know that we have all been kidnapped, and this is not a normal flight. We can't be sure if they'll help us, but it opens up a lot more opportunities to get out of the situation we're in. If we can either negotiate with them or even hold them hostage somehow, making contact with the outside world would go a long way in limiting the person who set this game up. Now, talking to the pilot is going to be extremely hard, because cockpits are designed to keep patrons away from the pilots. But when it's a matter of life and death, winning a game show should no longer be considered a priority. What's interesting about commercial cockpits is that the doors are actually a lot stronger than you think. Most people don't realize that these things have been designed to withstand incredible amounts of force, and have even been tested to hold up against grenades. Furthermore, the cockpit is totally inaccessible from the outside if the pilot has the door locked. However, private jets are designed in a number of different ways and can be much easier to access. Based on what we have seen so far, this door is locked, but we have not tried to open it with a blunt object. It would be worthwhile to attempt this before completely giving up and determining that the door is impenetrable. Then, if I can't get through the door, I would try to appeal to the pilot. The FAA requires that at least 2 pilots be present in the cockpit while a plane is flying, so we know that there are at least 2 people in there we can speak to. There are also no flight attendants present on the plane to stop us from doing this, so we can stand there and bug the pilots all night long. This will probably anger the announcer as well, since he wants us to play his little game, and it's very likely that he'll threaten to kill more of our friends and family if we keep trying. But as cold-blooded as it sounds, it might be worth the risk. If we do nothing, he'll continue to threaten friends and family anyways, and we gain nothing from it in return. This way, at least we have a chance to gain more control of the situation, so if we can get the door open quickly, it's still the better outcome. If a pilot does come out of the cockpit to address the situation, but is unwilling to help us, it probably means he is working for the announcer. We have to expect that with all the planning involved in getting us onto this flight, they would have expected us to try confronting the pilot, and it likely means that they would be armed as well to make sure we can't start a mutiny. With this in mind, I would try to prepare myself by trying to break the bathroom door off of its hinges and hopefully use it as a shield for whatever may come. Jo is sent to the bathroom where she's told to sit down and put on this headset. The announcer informs her that she'll be given an assignment assignment that can't be told to the other contestants. If she breaks the rules, her daughter will be killed. The monitor shows a live feed of the little girl sleeping peacefully in her room while she begs the mysterious company not to touch her. She walks outside with a terrified look on her face, urging the others to ask her what happened. That's when Dave is ordered to go in next. He is given the same instructions as Joe and is told to follow it, or else they'll kill his fiancée as shown on the monitor. He leaves the bathroom in tears while the remaining contestants wonder what the hell is going on. Gwen is sent as the next victim, being shown a live feed of her friend tied up, screaming in horror. The girl is covered in oil, while the announcer tells Gwen she can save her by following a simple task. Walking outside, Max is now the last to go. He tries to cheer the group up before being sent into the bathroom. Inside, the kid is shown a video of his brother tied up, begging for his life. If he doesn't complete the task given, he'll be brutally killed. Max walks out with a worried look on his face, and the announcer tells him they have 45 minutes to complete their assignments. That's when he reveals that the private jet will head for Oslo, crashing into the Altogether Company building, killing everyone on board. Hearing this, the group freaks out, and Dave here insists that this can't be real. They're reminded one last time that they need to complete their assignments or face deadly consequences. Dave loses it and confronts Joe on what was said to her. He grabs Gwen, telling the girl to shut up. Suddenly, Max destroys the monitor, admitting that he can't do what was ordered of him, and threatens to break everything inside the plane, suggesting that if they destroy the cameras and microphones, the game can't continue. Dave demands that he sit down or else he'll knock him out. Max tells him that the task given was for him to kill a certain person when the time was right. He tries convincing the others that they can't follow their instructions, or else they'll all die anyways. Okay, this is where things get even more complicated. All the passengers on board have been given individual tasks by the announcer that they've been told not to tell one another. As revealed by Max, he has been asked to kill someone, so if it were me, I would assume that everyone has been given an equally violent task. The problem here is that everyone is panicking, and they think that they have a way out by completing the task, which is keeping them from revealing to one another what the announcer has told them, and creating an environment of mistrust and hostility. Rather than withhold my task, I would reveal everything that has been told to me, and encourage everyone to do the same in order to get all of us on the same page and unified against our real enemy. The scenario that has been outlined here is a lot like the prisoner's dilemma. The prisoner's dilemma is an example presented in game theory that outlines two people's conflict when caught for a crime with an accomplice. In this dilemma, two criminals are placed in separate rooms and offered different deals in order to sell out their accomplice. The hope is that one of the two accomplices will take the deal, admitting that they both committed the crime together. The problem is that both the accomplices have been offered a deal, which means that either of them can fold, putting pressure on the other that they'll be the one used as a scapegoat if they don't take it. However, in the prisoner's dilemma, taking the deal assumes that you'll be let go, and in this scenario, we aren't exactly dealing with a legal entity, so it's even less likely that the announcer has to make good on his promise. Similar to the prisoner's dilemma, it's the most strategic for none of us to take the deal, because there's essentially nothing that the police can do without further evidence or an admission. If these contestants choose not to kill each other, then they can use their 45 minutes to try to solve how to survive the situation. Again, the contestants' lives have been made more complicated by the fact that they have family on the ground that has been kidnapped. But the good thing is that they have more information now and can look at these murders to determine that their actions have no real effect over the outcome of what happens on the ground. During the first two murders, the victims were chosen from Dave and Max's friends list on Altogether.com, and then within moments, the announcer was able to dispatch someone to the exact location of that individual, leaving there absolutely no time for the announcer to figure out where the individual was and send someone there to kill them in real time. Therefore, these videos had to be pre-recorded, and we are just being tortured for sport. The real objective here is finding a way off the flight because we only have 45 minutes until more people will die. Max is ordered to sit down or else his brother will die. Seeing the monitor, he puts the axe away and wonders what he can do next. Suddenly, he watches as they brutally slice the man's arm off. Max confesses that the man isn't his brother, but begs him to stop while they continue to torture the victim. The group tells him to calm down, and that's when he reveals that his profile was a lie. He hacked into a student's account, changing his personal details so he could enter the competition. The fake Max admits that he can't tell them his name, or else his family could be in danger. Furious, Dave hits him in the face, and Joe insists that he reveal who he actually is. Demanding his phone and passport, Dave takes the items and tells him he'll be keeping it for now. He walks into the toilet where the announcer informs him that he hasn't completed his task. Later, the group take turns drinking their sorrows away, while Dave here listens into the announcer. He congratulates the man for following his task, but reveals that he won't let her fiancé go just yet. Now, he has 3 minutes to kill another contestant. The man walks outside and grabs the axe, pointing it towards the others. They beg him to put the weapon down, but the man is about to make a huge mistake. He lunges at the contestants and cuts into Max's chest. He falls into the floor, but Max manages to grab the axe and kill Dave while getting a bottle smashed on his head. The girls are shocked, but Max insists that he had no other option and puts the dead man's body on the floor. That's when the announcer tells him that Dave has failed his mission and Game 3 is now over. They watch as his fiancée is killed on the monitor, while Gwen walks into the bathroom being shouted at to put the headset on. She's given another task, but this time, she needs to seduce Max. Gwen leaves the bathroom and Max here tells them they should move the body. She helps move Dave into the back room and insists they go clean up. In the bathroom, Gwen helps him take his bloodied shirt off. She takes a look at the wound and helps him clean it out. The woman asks him if they'll die on this plane, giving him a kiss on the lips. Gwen admits that her sister will die if they don't hook up. The two agree to make out, and Max pushes her against the wall. Suddenly, he realizes that they can access the equipment in this room. He rushes outside to find his laptop, while Gwen sits in the bathroom realizing that she's just failed her task. Now she's given the order to stop from accessing the luggage, with only 3 minutes until her sister dies. Gwen walks outside, blocking them from coming into the bathroom. Max grabs the weapon and demands that she move. Suddenly, she goes berserk and stabs the kid's chest, causing him to drop his axe. Gwen puts the weapon to his neck before Joe here grabs and chokes her unconscious. She's failed her mission, and the monitor displays Gwen's sister being burned alive as punishment. Okay, the worst case scenario has finally happened, and now all the contestants are killing each other instead of trying to find a way off of this plane. Not only has this added another level of more immediate danger, but it has also distracted us all from the ticking clock that will eventually end with us dead in a plane crash. If it were me, instead of trying to kill the last ally I have left, I would figure out ways to come together and survive the crash. The pilot has been totally unresponsive and unhelpful, so there has been no way to contact or reason with him, which means that my options are either to jump, try to force the plane to crash prematurely over water to save others, or brace myself for the impact that's coming. Surviving a jump without some sort of parachute is highly unlikely. I could use a piece of wreckage to pad my fall, but it's still not my best option. Trying to force the plane to crash over water is the most heroic, but also the most difficult and least likely to happen. The plane map revealed we were heading for Oslo, and this gives us the opportunity to crash somewhere in the Skagerrak Strait. However, planes are designed not to be broken from the inside, and this would again require us to contact the pilot in order to devise a plan, or try to get a plane door open so the force of the air outside will break the plane. For my own survival, this is highly risky, because the force of the door opening could kill me immediately. Since we know that the plane is crashing headfirst into a building, I would go as far back in the plane as possible to reduce the force of the impact on my body. On commercial planes, the fatality rate is lowest in the rear middle seats at roughly 28%, as opposed to the middle of the plane, which is 39%, and the front of the plane, which is 38%. Unfortunately, the fatality rate for survivors of a private jet crash is even worse than commercial planes, so I'm really going to have luck on my side. I would buckle on my seatbelt and brace myself for impact. 2 different brace positions are putting my head down and hugging my knees, or cradling my head on the seat in front of me. In this situation, it would have to be the first, since this is not a standard aircraft that has seats in front of me. At this point, I'm then in a game of chicken with the announcer to see if I'll live to tell the tale. Max tells Joe that they need to find their luggage now. He walks into the bathroom and hacks at the door, weakening it enough to bring the entire thing down. Inside, he complains about a disgusting scent, moving the trash heap to reveal that the body of the real Max's brother is underneath. That's when he finds his laptop and opens it up to find out that the device is still working. Meanwhile, Joe continues searching the luggage to find her daughter. Suddenly, the pilot appears, demanding that Max hand over his laptop. The two walk away from the device and watch as he destroys the computer. Distracted, Max punches him in the face, ordering him to stay put. Joe points the man's taser at the pilot, and the survivors question him. But the pilot tells him that he doesn't know a thing about the company. They have his entire family held hostage, and there's nothing he can do about it. The pilot was given an order to kill the group, or else he would have to face a punishment of his own. Joe begs him to land the plane, or else they'll kill hundreds of innocent people. Suddenly, Max starts gasping for air as he quickly realizes he's been poisoned, and Joe watches as the kid dies in front of her. It's horrifying. And when she looks back at the pilot, the man has his taser aimed straight at her. The announcer shows him a video of his wife seconds away from being brutally killed, but Joe here insists that he shouldn't follow the commands. Okay, now is their opportunity to finally confront the pilot. He has come out of his cockpit, and against FAA regulations, the plane is only manned by one person. Before Max passes out, I would immediately have tag teamed the situation and have him wrestle the pilot to the ground. Even if the pilot overpowers Max, the pilot can't be in two places at once, even with a taser. This is a golden opportunity that needs to be attempted regardless of the fact that the pilot is armed, because the cockpit is unlocked, which can give me complete control over the course of the plane. As soon as I'm in the cockpit, I would lock the door behind me, making it impossible for the pilot to come in and intervene. Once behind the wheel, I would try to contact ground control. Since I'm not a classically trained airline pilot, trying to understand the controls will be difficult, but the best strategy is to find a headset or mic that allows me to communicate with anyone on the ground that can talk me through how to change my course. Nobody wants to have a hijacked plane crashing into a building, so it shouldn't be hard to convince the controller on the other end that this is a desperate situation that needs immediate attention. In the off chance the announcer has cut off all communication from ground control, I would use any kind of device that looks like it controls our direction and point it up to keep us from crashing into buildings. Unfortunately, none of that happens, and Max dies due to a poison drink Joe gave him earlier. This leaves the pilot and Joe as the only two people on the plane left, and the pilot has been given two tasks that he has to complete in order for his family not to die: crash the plane and collect the laptop. The only good thing about this situation is that since the pilot has two different tasks, it makes it difficult for him to do both at once. Joe and the pilot have a standoff before he returns to the cockpit, where he has the taser and she has an axe. There is a good long stretch of time where the pilot knows that he needs to get back to the cockpit, but doesn't want to turn his back or strike. Joe also hesitates, but if it were me, I would take this opportunity and immediately strike the pilot with the axe. The problem here is that Joe doesn't want to kill anyone, which makes sense, but by hesitating, she is giving up her own life and dooming hundreds of other people in the building that we are about to crash into. She needs to act fast in order to take the pilot out and take over control of the plane once and for all. Without any option, he tases Joe unconscious and walks back into the cockpit. Confused, she gets up on the chair, being shown a final disturbing video before they crash. This girl named Lucy shows up on the monitor, and the game master mentions that all the contestants were responsible for her death. They tormented her constantly until the girl fell into a deep depression. That's when the announcer reveals that Lucy was his daughter, and now he's taken the opportunity to kill those who were responsible for her death, before telling the woman that there are 6 minutes left until the plane crashes. Joe hacks at the exit door, realizing it's her only choice left to take matters into her own hands, and hoping to survive, she's sucked out of the cabin while the plane crashes into the ocean. But what do you think? How would you beat Panic Button? Let me know with a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe, and check out the How to Beat playlist for more videos like this. Until next time, have a damn good day.